Hello there and welcome back to The Closet Historian and back to another annual roundup of all the sewing projects I completed over the last year. I have made several of these videos now, so I will link the others for years past in the description below if you'd like to check out, again, as I usually say, more unhinged fashion ideas from me. And this year things are a little bit different. Normally I have everything decorated for Christmas, but I'm not pulling out my Christmas decorations this year because, let's face it, I need to pack everything away as opposed to pulling anything out. And luckily I'm fairly certain that I have finally met my goal this year to make less in the next year than I had in the year before, because I'm pretty sure I didn't make nearly as much this year as I have in years past, both because I made some more epically time-consuming things this last year, and then also because I've been working on other projects like, trying to move across the country, find a house, buy a house, all that jazz. But I digress. Let's go ahead and dive on in. First up, I have this wool blend dress to show you. I do believe this was a wool blend. I can't exactly remember. It was, of course, about a year ago. And I made this dress over on Patreon, so if you'd like to see the making of for this one, that is where it can be found, and it has these truly epic sleeves that are almost like a full half circle or so. They are very gigantic, but otherwise it's a very simple black dress for me in my wardrobe, with the addition of a few silver chrome sort of finish, heat transfer vinyl decals on here. Of course, this was the year of the craft cutter here in my sewing room, adding on custom decals in vinyl to whatever I wanted. In this case, some marbled silver rectangles, and I placed these in a sort of formal kimono-inspired arrangement on this dress. Next up, I have the black, sort of bubbly, metallic brocade, 17th century inspired, doublet-inspired little jacket here, if we can call a short-sleeved thing a jacket, which in my world, I simply just do. They're either a jacket or a bodice, and a bodice sounds like historic costuming, so we're going with jacket. And this one is rather fun, even if the shoulders are domineering, but in black I can pair this with many different skirts in my wardrobe, of course, and perhaps even with some color in the future, if I decide to, branch out. Next up, I have this color-blocked Nightcore inspired dress. I wanted a dress to wear to sit and watch a tourney, This dress was my take on a sort of mid-century modern does medieval, and again, I have some custom heat transfer vinyl decals accenting this dress, this time in a black faux velvet vinyl, so it's not like a shiny vinyl, it's a faux velvet vinyl, which is the one I used the most in the last year. Then I have this big brocade cape coat that I made this year, and this actually was a Patreon exclusive project, but I will be bringing it to the channel here over the new year period, so this video will be coming to all real soon. This is entirely inspired by and based on an Alexander McQueen coat from several years ago that I have seen Dita Von Teese wear a lot, and I thought it would be great for pairing over things that have strange sleeves, like the wool dress from earlier that I'm wearing under it here. And I can't wait to wear this out and about in upstate New York to scare all of the locals. Next up, I made a metallic linen blend version of the gathered neckline top that I had made to wear in Arcana last year, just to show you how I put this one together. And of course, this is a black and white and gold mixed fabric here, which results in a strange, almost olivey gray color with a golden sheen. Next up, we have another vintage-inspired dress, this time in an Anna Sui fabric that I managed to pick up at the Mood Fabrics location in Los Angeles. This is a duochrome iridescent black fringy sheer lace sort of fabric, almost a burnout velvet, which was actually less difficult to work with than that makes it sound. I was actually pleasantly surprised how easy this was to put together. And of course, a gal like me could always use another oil slick iridescent dress hanging in her closet. Next up, we have the rest of that black brocade that I used to make the little jacket earlier, this time being used as a dress with the midsection sort of texture blocked into a different brocade that I completely embellished with, of course, vinyl bugs and dozens and hundreds of sequins. And naturally, I needed a matching cape to go with that for the full sort of, space senator at a cocktail party kind of vibe. So this was my Gentlemen Prefer Blondes inspired cape that I made to pair with this dress. And here's another variation on that same sort of design, again color blocking the midsection, this time using a different pattern of HTV, the same color of HTV heat transfer vinyl for this whole dress, but I just changed up the density of the pattern that I was using for the different sections. So again, this isn't exactly color blocked. You could color block using this exact pattern, but I instead was sort of pattern blocking with it, if that makes any sense. So I have the densest amount of patterning, which is sort of a circuit board and Frank Lloyd Wright mixture of a pattern here at the center of the dress, and then it fades out into the oil slick wave effect. Now, all of you saw this set in the Songtooth lookbook, but actually I made this skirt and jacket over on Patreon a little bit earlier in the year. Of course, I had to start making things for that large lookbook earlier in the year. But this is a black brocade variation on my favorite blazer design that I used to make the verdigris jacket and the beetle bug back jacket that you may have seen already here on the channel. And then a whole new asymmetric drape accent pencil skirt pattern that, again, if you're interested in, can be found over on Patreon. But I did make this black cotton twill pencil skirt with its patch pocket and asymmetric zipper here on the channel. I made this to pair with my armor-inspired leather jacket, and I think it was only about 90% successful. I'm not 100% thrilled with this skirt. I think this design needs a little more tweaking. Then I have the, again, metallic blend linen. This is again the Essex linen from Robert Kaufman, the manufacturer Robert Kaufman, this time in black on black here. I made this wrap dress with extra long ties using, of course, my all-in-one sleeve here, and the front edge is bound. This again does have a sort of insert into the skirt, very similar to that pencil skirt, to create a very asymmetric drape along the side. Again, I did make the skirt a little bit short in the front on this one. I still need to add an extra panel in here to render this a little less scandalous. And then for some reason I just hadn't had enough sequining this year after the Bug Barbie dress earlier in the year, so of course I set myself another massive hand sequining project, which was to make this flames reflected on water inspired bodice for the Songtooth lookbook. Using different shades of red and coral sequins, I went about creating a squiggly design all over my cotton sateen for this, and I can't wait to wear this with a pencil skirt instead sometime out and about, perhaps for an evening cocktail or a show or something like that, once I figure out what the performing arts scene is like in upstate New York. And we're fully into all the Songtooth projects now, so I have this simple sequin knit dress with the long sequin fringe that I paired the silver Swiss waist belt with. Of course, I'm wearing my original Victorian corset underneath this as well, and a lot of matching jewelry and a whole matching metal tabard that I made that took me ages and ages and yet doesn't, I don't think, make an appearance in this video. But in general, I made a lot of things for Songtooth that are questionably sewing projects versus craft projects, so they're not really in this video. However, this red and white dress that I made for Songtooth does have its own video here on the channel, although I have since over-dyed it, so I need to show you what that looks like now because I have dyed this a dark burgundy, magenta, purple, and sort of looks like if you had left it on the floor of some sort of acid factory in a steampunk universe and then picked it up, you know, washed off most of it and then just kept wearing it. Anyhow, here is the armor-inspired applique leather jacket that I made this year, that I am of course still thrilled with, although for once I do sort of regret not putting pockets somehow into this garment. When I'm wearing a leather jacket out and about, I want somewhere to put my hands when they're cold, so I guess I didn't actually think of that. For once, I do want pockets, not to store anything other than my own hands. And I did wear this on one of my trips to upstate New York, and I was walking around Saratoga Springs when a man stopped me and let me know that my jacket was cool and that I looked like Trinity from The Matrix, which honestly, there is just no higher compliment, so I consider this jacket a raving success. Then I have the samurai-inspired HTV vinyl shiny black glossy coat dress that I made. This is a little bit heavy to be a dress and a little bit light to be a coat, so we're calling it a coat dress. I'll probably be wearing this layered over other things. There's a lot of Terry Mugler bug looks inspiration coming through in this as well, in addition to the samurai inspiration that you can see if you look closely at the designs of my armor here. So if you'd like to see how I put this together, check out the links in the description. And I have the metallic gold, sort of a bronzy gold and black marble brocade set going on here. I have a full-length skirt, I have a pencil skirt, I have a little short sleeve jacket, and then a little partlet that I can wear over the jacket again to change this up using both sides of the fabric. And I do still have a little bit of this fabric left over, which is nice because I absolutely love it and it's sewed together really well, so this fabric gave me no trouble, and I'm excited to use other colorways of it in the future, as I do have the navy and silver sitting in my stash. And we have more metallic brocade. No one is surprised. This time we have a sort of pewter or gunmetal chrome effect, fully at filigree, spreading over a red ground. This was a fabric I found locally at a shop here in Denver called Allen's that I will greatly miss when I move away. And again, I have a whole video covering the making of this project, including the sequining and embellishing of the little matching partlet as well. And once again, I am absolutely thrilled with this piece and can't wait to wear it out because I've not been able to yet because unfortunately one can only pack so many things when traveling back and forth, and I haven't been able to wear any of my real fun fall winter stuff yet. Once I move, I'll pull it all out and really, again, yes, make an impression in my new neighborhood. And here I have my cropped circle cut cape, which is a short cape but with a massive hood, so the size of the hood sort of makes up for the length of the cape. And for the fully sort of monastic fantasy dark nun sort of vibe, I did cut out a flocked velvet stained glass rose window that is of course ironed onto the cotton piqué here. And honestly, there's just a whole bunch of little projects that I put together for Songtooth, including this velvet stretchy knit set here. This is a knit gown with a cowl, sort of just a long cowl scarf that I can wrap in different ways and wear this in different ways. This is actually a very comfy set, so I could just wear this around the house perhaps, seeing as again, I do not have enough occasions in my life to wear evening wear. Which at present is the same fate for the silvery pewter sequined evening gown here as well, especially with its long train, which makes it very inconvenient for actually wearing it out and about in the world, but hopefully an occasion will arise when I need to look like a sequin from head to toe. You never know. And luckily I think this gown could look a lot more modern when styled in a different way. And over on Patreon, I was experimenting with some of the moire silk that Silk Baron has come out with. It is sadly not an actual moire fabric, not like a ribbed classical moire. It is just a jacquard that is woven to look like moire, which I didn't know until I got it in hand. Although on their website it does call it a jacquard, so I should have known. I think that was there from the start. Not really sure, but this is the black on black moire from Silk Baron that I made a puffy 1890s sleeved bolero and little matching bodice jacket set out of over on Patreon. And while I'm very happy with this embellished late Victorian morning wear inspired bolero, the jacket underneath I think needs a little bit of work. This fabric was just a little bit softer and less structured than I was used to working with when it comes to making jackets. Might have needed some more traditional tailoring inside of this to really make it work. I did interline this with muslin, but I don't think that was enough, so I have a few tweaks to make on this jacket in the future. Another Patreon exclusive project was this, again, 1890s inspired shirtwaist, this time in a striped cotton shirting, and this one I do want to modify as well. I would like to add a waistband onto this because this is just tucked in. The majority of the shirt is a boxy classical shirt shape, and I have it tucked in here, but for me personally, I just prefer to have the shirt actually just end at the waist and be gathered the way I would like it to into a waistband and not have to fuss with it coming untucked or billowing out in ways I do not prefer. Then I have the purple shirtwaist that I showed you how I drafted the sleeves for this here on the channel in a short little video that didn't do very well. Maybe the algorithm hit it, not sure, but if you like this sleeve style, feel free to check out the link in the description below to see how to put that one together. And of course, it was a modification of the very same base pattern that I used to make this blouse here. So the torso portion of the blouse is the same, it's just the sleeves that are different. And this one I was trying to focus on sleeves that puff horizontally, but not really up or out much. So I was experimenting with my 1890s sleeves this fall before, of course, I had to drop everything in my creative life and just focus on house hunting 100%. But I have tried this blouse on over my corset, so I think in the future when I make some 1890s skirts, I can still wear this shirtwaist with those for costuming purposes as well as just having it in my regular wardrobe. Then of course I made the corset mock-up. Speaking of late Victorian things, here's a late Victorian corset mock-up that of course I spent a lot of time and technique on and came out perfectly wearable for both my costuming and fashion wardrobes moving forward. And we're fully into very recent projects now, so here is the black mermaid skirt, sort of fluted, trumpety skirt that I made here on the channel recently in a textured black brocade. And of course in this black it will coordinate with plenty in my closet because I love wearing black clothing. And I think I actually might add a little bit of a ruffle or something a little bit weighty to the hem of this because this fabric is a little bit more floaty than I desire. So I will show you that modification in the future when I get around to it. Then I made the deep navy blue 1940s comfy dolman sleeved dress here. I sadly have not gotten to wear this one yet. It would have been perfect for my recent trips to New York. However, I had packed only a carry-on, so I kept everything in the black colorway. And when I'm packing in general, I try to only take a carry-on, so I stick with either black, navy, or brown as opposed to trying to pack all three different colors of shoes and belts and things. So this last trip was all black, so I have not been able to wear the navy dress yet. And we have another iridescent brocade. This is a little set I made recently over on Patreon. And there's nothing groundbreakingly new going on here for either the pattern drafting or the sewing, but I really needed to stay firmly within the wheelhouse while my brain was actually just melting during escrow. But I do think this would be a great ensemble for a holiday party. And lastly, of course, I have my most recent project, the last thing I've been able to work on and sew, this fully boned late Victorian corset with all the flossing and the lace and all the fixins, all ready to go for when I can finally make some more time for costuming. So that was everything I made in the year of 2024, a little bit less of a productive year than I have had in years past, and I know I didn't come out with as many new, fun, exciting retro things here on the channel I would really have liked to, but between several different things that were going on behind the scenes, it just didn't happen. I wish I could say that I got less sewing done because I got more writing done, but that's definitely not the case. No one is surprised to hear me say that because I say it every year, but I'll say it again. I hope next year that I get more writing done and that one day I'll finally be able to share that work with you as well. But for now, it's just going to have to be a behind-the-scenes mess. But this is also my annual opportunity to say thank you for following along with my work. Thank you for supporting me here on the channel, and especially thank you to my patrons who, of course, make my work possible. And despite the messy miasma I'm sure my entire life is right now as I'm speaking to you, I promise I'll be back with more sewing, vintage fashion, costuming, and crafting real soon. So I'll see you then. Bye.